Professor Halrickson Trewin floated 3 centimeters above the polished floor of Lecture Dome 9, his gelatinous lower segments undulating in sync with the soft hum of his translation harness. His arms, 4 delicate appendages ending in frilled sensory pads, gestured enthusiastically as a massive anatomical projection of a human skull rotated above the amphitheater. The crowd of wide-eyed alien students leaned forward, their various eye stalks, clusters, and monoculars glinting under the dome's lumen panels. "Observe the dentition, my young scholars," Halrickson announced, his voice rich with academic certainty. Flattened molars, diminutive canines, a jaw designed not for tearing sinew but for grinding fibrous plant matter. Humans are what we call obligate folivores. Several Glorans in the front row clicked their feeders in admiration, while a duo of scale, sheathed Yervaxi at the back exchanged impressed hisses. The glow from their note slates flickered as they jotted observations with diligence befitting a species known for rewriting textbooks mid-lecture. "Fascinating," murmured Shix, a thistle-colored Irunian whose species had once mistaken a couch cushion for a nest and incubated it for 8 weeks. "So they graze then? Like our lunar graze beasts?" "Oh yes," said Halrickson, swelling with pride. "Humans are particularly drawn to leafy greens, fermented teas, and root vegetables. Look at their cultural fixation on salads, entire meals constructed from raw flora. Some add fruit, seeds, even dairy derivatives, but the core principle remains: plants." The class nodded or vibrated or extended pseudopods in agreement. Halrickson adjusted the projection to show a typical Earth cafeteria. "Note the behavior. Humans gathering in groups, cradling leaf piles in shallow bowls. No hunting, no aggression. They are content, even joyful, while consuming foliage." From the third tier, a tentacled Archoi raised a limb. "Professor, what about their recorded meat consumption, their historical hunting?" Halrickson waved a limb dismissively. "An ancient aberration. Outdated. Most of those records stem from primitive eras, cultural rituals, desperation. Modern humans, especially those accepted into the interstellar scholastic exchange, are refined, civilized, largely plant-based. I even observed one brewing hot water and pouring it over dried leaves. A form of ritual grazing." Soft murmurs of understanding passed through the class. In the far left corner of the auditorium, Aaron Shepard, Earth's lone exchange student on Udraza Prime, unzipped his lunch satchel. He'd heard his name mentioned earlier in the lecture, indirectly, of course. "My student subject from Sector 3, Halrickson had said. No need to embarrass him, Aaron assumed. Not that he minded. He'd grown used to being a curiosity. First human on campus. First human in the entire region. First human to accidentally insult an Avari matriarch by offering her a handshake. He unfolded a neatly wrapped packet from inside the satchel. The seal popped slightly, a faint hiss escaping as the vacuum pack released. Halrickson, gesturing midair as the hologram displayed a human digestive tract, caught the sound. "Ah, excellent timing. Let us examine a real-world example. Mr. Shepard, would you permit the class to observe your midday meal?" A spotlight dimmed over the human's seat. Aaron blinked against the sudden brightness, but managed a tight smile. Sure." He raised the packet, expecting to be dismissed after a few amused glances. The moment he peeled back the translucent seal and lifted out the slab of raw, marbled steak, the entire dome went still. A Yervaxi made a noise akin to a backfiring jet. Professor Halrickson's fronds wilted. The meat, a thick-cut ribeye, blood-rich and glistening in the artificial light, hung between Aaron's fingers like a prop from an anatomical exhibit. "Oh no," Shix whispered, clutching the edge of her seat. "He's about to feed." "Quarantine," someone screeched in standard interlingua. Several students scrambled behind their seats, one vomiting a bright turquoise mist onto his neighbor. A security drone zipped from its charging dock, targeting Aaron with a gentle beam of immobilization light. Wait. Aaron waved the steak in his other hand frantically. "I'm not eating this raw. It's for cooking. Professor Halrickson reeled backward, arms fluttering in pure academic betrayal. "That's flesh. You're carrying uncooked flesh. From a mammal." "It's beef," Aaron said. "Cow, domesticated, bred for food. This is refrigerated, vacuum sealed, totally safe. I was going to grill it. Over fire. That last word hit the room like a meteor. Fire? A student gasped. He intends to ignite combustion in the dormitory sector? No, Aaron groaned. We have a shared cooking platform. It's legal. I checked. It's outside and regulated. Professor Halrikson's lower segments coiled into themselves as if trying to hide. You transport uncooked animal remains and intend to ignite fire to alter their chemical structure for consumption? Well, yeah, that's how humans eat meat. Usually, some dishes are raw, but they're prepped very carefully. Sushi, steak tartare, carpaccio. Sushi? Halrikson croaked. That's not even cooked? No, but it's fish, not red meat. And it's handled hygienically. Freezing, slicing techniques, totally different microbial profiles. We've studied this stuff for centuries. Shix shakily raised a pseudopod. Why not just eat more leaves? Aaron took a breath, gently laying the steak back into its packaging. Because we evolved to be flexible. Our ancestors didn't always have access to just plants. Our survival depended on whatever we could find. Roots, insects, meat, berries. Cooking helped us digest more efficiently, extract more nutrients, and kill pathogens. That's how we made it through ice ages and famines. Cooking, Halrikson whispered, stunned, as a survival mechanism. Aaron nodded. Exactly. It's not about preference, it's about adaptation. We learned to alter our food to make it safer, last longer, taste better. It's one of the reasons we spread so far. The security drone retreated to its perch. Several students hesitantly emerged from their hiding spots. One, a bulbous Farak, with no visible mouth, raised an ocular stalk. So you can eat raw meat or cook it depending on conditions? Yeah, Aaron said. We can even ferment it, dry it, cure it with salt. Depends on what we need. Humans are terrifyingly versatile, muttered Halrikson, almost inaudibly. There was a long pause. Shix tapped her note slate. Professor, should we adjust our lecture notes? Halrikson's limbs quivered as he turned back toward the hologram. Yes, I believe we must. I have grievously underestimated the human digestive paradigm. Aaron sat down again, cheeks red. He quietly resealed the steak. Halrikson sighed. Class dismissed for now. I require recalibration. As the students filtered out, many cast Aaron long, uncertain glances. Not hostile, not fearful, just newly aware. Curious, apprehensive. Professor Halrikson, still trembling slightly, stared at the skull projection and murmured, What else have we misunderstood? For 3 full rotations of Udraza Prime's moons, Lecture Dome 9 remained conspicuously dim. That had never happened before. Not even during the brief outbreak of sleep cycle flu, or when the ceiling had collapsed under the weight of a spontaneous growth spurt from a careless botanical science group. No, Lecture Dome 9 always hosted xenobiology, and Professor Halrikson Troon had never missed a scheduled session. Until now. Aaron Shepard didn't know whether to feel guilty or flattered. He hadn't meant to break a professor, but it had happened. There was no denying that. One moment, Halrikson was enthusiastically dissecting human molar curvature, and the next he was gazing into the middle distance like he'd just watched the universe turn inside out. Which, to be fair, might have been how it felt to discover that your favorite grazing species might also roast animal flesh over fire. Aaron hadn't even gotten to eat the steak in the end. It had gone back into the refrigeration unit after half the cafeteria cleared out in horror. The next time xenobiology resumed, held not in the dome but a neutral multi-species hall on the north side of campus, Professor Halrikson entered with noticeably slower oscillations. His colors, once bright with academic pomp, were dulled to a pale mauve, and when he finally addressed the students, his voice lacked its usual cadence. I must open today's session with an apology, he said, standing beneath a new, sterile hologram, one that did not feature smiling humans holding salad bowls. My earlier assertions regarding the species Homo sapiens were founded on incomplete data. While humans do consume a wide variety of foliage, they are, in fact, omnivores. A small gasp rippled through the hall. Halrikson raised a frond. But not simply omnivores in the casual, dualistic sense. They are what I would now term dietary opportunists. Their metabolic flexibility is extreme. They exhibit complex behavioral adaptations to food scarcity, pathogen mitigation, and even flavor acquisition. At the side of the room, Aaron shifted in his seat. "Mr. Shepard," Halrickson said, without turning, "would you be willing to expand on yesterday's events in a more controlled environment?" Aaron stood, nodding slowly. "Sure, but only if I can make a few clarifications." Halrickson gestured for him to approach. "Please do. The floor is yours." Aaron took a few steps forward and tried not to notice how several students subtly recoiled when he passed. The image of him holding raw beef had clearly imprinted itself. "First of all," Aaron began, "raw meat isn't the norm for us. It's rare, and usually prepared with really strict hygiene. Most humans would get sick eating unprocessed raw animal products. That's why we cook. Fire destroys pathogens, bacteria, parasites, viruses. It breaks down connective tissue, makes things easier to digest." A bipedal Farak raised a glittering limb. "But you still touch it, handle it with your bare outer membranes?" Aaron smiled. "We use gloves sometimes, or wash our hands. But yeah, contact isn't dangerous if you're careful. The key is in controlling the risk. Our ancestors figured out that heat fire was the difference between death and survival." Another hand tentacle rose. "Is it true," asked a student in the back, "that your species invented portable fire? Fire you carried around?" Aaron chuckled. "Yeah. Matches, lighters, stoves. We learned how to control flame. That changed everything. Let us migrate, cook food, make tools, stay warm in cold climates. It's one of the reasons we spread to every continent on Earth." Murmurs buzzed like static. Halrickson scribbled frantic notes into a floating data sheet. "And fire predated agriculture? Oh, by tens of thousands of years. Before farming, we were foragers, nomadic. We followed herds, dug for roots, gathered whatever we could find. Fire let us make those things safer, more edible. It wasn't just cooking, it was survival chemistry." A ripple of quiet horror passed through the room as that sank in. Aaron continued. "We don't just eat what we find, we alter it. We ferment milk into cheese, let fruit rot slightly into alcohol, dry meat into jerky, grind grains into flour, mix it with water, and bake it into bread. And if we can't digest something raw, we figure out how to make it digestible. We've even made poisonous plants edible by leaching the toxins out." Professor Halrickson looked like he was going to faint again. "Your species eats poisoned plants?" he whispered. "We did," Aaron clarified, "only after figuring out how to render them safe. Boiling, soaking, even chemical treatment. Look, humans are constantly exposed to risk. Our ancestors didn't always have choices. If they didn't adapt, they died. So, we adapted." One of the Irunian students murmured to her neighbor, "How can a creature look so fragile and be so dangerous?" Aaron caught that and turned. "We're not trying to be dangerous. We just adapt. It's what we do. That includes food. And the way we use it. Fire, fermentation, preservation, seasoning. That's part of our biology now." Shix raised a trembling pseudopod. "You season your food?" "Sure," Aaron said. "Salt, herbs, spices. Some are even antimicrobial. Others just make things taste better. Some of our oldest trade routes existed because of spices." Halrickson lowered his data pad slowly. "Trade routes for plants to change the flavor of cooked meat." "Yes." Silence stretched through the hall like a taut wire. Then, abruptly, one of the Yervaxi in the front row whispered, "They don't eat to survive. They engineer survival." Another voice joined in. "Their evolution isn't passive, it's tactical. I bet they even plan their meals days in advance," someone muttered from the back. Aaron raised his eyebrows. Yeah, we do. Meal prep is pretty normal." Halrickson made a faint wheezing noise. Aaron decided to sit down again. After several long, heavy moments, the professor turned to the class. "Clearly, there are profound gaps in our understanding of human dietary behaviors. I will be assembling a revised sub-lecture module on thermal food processing and microbial resistance strategies. Mr. Shepard's cooperation will be essential." Aaron blinked. "Wait, Am I part of the curriculum now? You are a critical case study, Halrickson said, not unkindly. An active research participant. Aaron sighed and leaned back in his chair. I should have just brought a salad. A few of the students laughed nervously. Shix raised her slate and muttered, Do humans eat those before or after igniting meat? Aaron smirked. Sometimes both. Depends on the mood. Later that day, Aaron found himself in the campus commons under observation by a small group of xenobiology majors. He stood beside an approved ventilated grilling station. Beside him, the once controversial ribeye steak now hissed and popped over a heated slab. The scent of cooking meat wafted through the air, rich, savory, and utterly alien to the crowd. Halrickson, now draped in sterile robes, watched from a respectful distance, a datasheet in each frond. You're altering the proteins, he said, half in awe, half in horror. Maillard reactions, caramelization of meat fibers. I read the glossary twice, but seeing it, smelling it. Aaron flipped the steak. Yup, this is medium rare. Some humans like it well done, some like it bleeding. Personal preference. A Yervaxi student gagged quietly. You're all welcome to try it, Aaron offered. No one moved. I see, Halrickson said quietly, that we've barely scratched the surface of what your species is capable of digesting. Aaron shrugged. To be fair, we still have food allergies, poisonings, and dietary restrictions. We're not perfect, but we're persistent. As the steak sizzled and the sun dipped below Udraza Prime's horizon, a strange silence settled over the group. Not fear, not disgust, just realization. Aaron plated the steak, sliced it, and took a bite. Professor Halrickson tapped one final note into his pad. If humans can metabolize nearly anything with tools and timing, what environments might they survive that we cannot? What frontiers could they cross? He stared at Aaron quietly chewing his meal, and added one last line. We assumed they were gentle grazers. We were wrong. The following rotation, Professor Halrickson arrived in class 15 minutes early, a full 5, before even the lecture systems powered on. He moved with intent, fronds pre-arranged in a posture of ceremonial humility, and had already activated 3 auxiliary holographic projectors by the time the students began filtering in. No one chatted. No one whispered about the previous steak incident. They were all waiting because, whatever Halrickson had learned since the impromptu grilling session, it had deeply unsettled him. I have spent the last sleep cycle immersed in Earth medical databases, he began, as well as culinary archives, agricultural records, and a distressing number of foodborne illness case studies. He pointed one frond toward the center of the room, where a rotating 3D hologram now displayed a stylized rendering of a bacterium with unnerving detail. This, he declared, is Salmonella enterica, one of several microbial threats that humans regularly encounter and somehow survive, often because of their bizarre food practices. Several students recoiled instinctively. Aaron, in his usual seat near the center, gave a small nod. Yeah, Salmonella is mostly from undercooked poultry, but raw eggs and cross-contamination too. Not fun. Halrickson blinked an involuntary reflex his species had only during extreme stress. You say this casually? Well, I had it once, spent 3 days in bed, lost like 8 pounds. A horrified gasp echoed from 3 quadrants of the room. You survived a multi-system microbial invasion and only lost weight? I was 20. My immune system was pretty strong. Halrickson waved frantically at his display. What of Listeria monocytogenes? E. coli, Campylobacter, norovirus? Your species catalogs hundreds of known pathogens, many of them transmitted by food. Aaron nodded again. And we've built protocols to deal with them. Refrigeration, pasteurization, cooking temperatures, hand washing. Most countries have food safety standards. And antibiotics if things go wrong. You expect things to go wrong? An Arquoy asked, visibly shivering. We prepare for it, Aaron said. Look, we've never had sterile environments. Everything on Earth is trying to rot, infect, or kill us in some way. We adapt, we evolve, we learn. And we've gotten a lot better at managing food safety. We don't just accept sickness, we engineer systems to minimize it. Professor Halrickson turned to the second projector. A 2D clip began to play a human chef deftly slicing sashimi-grade tuna on a bamboo board. "Explain this," he said. "This raw meat is not cooked, yet your kind consumes it willingly. Why is this allowed?" Aaron leaned forward. "That's sushi-grade fish. It's frozen first to kill parasites. Handled with precision, certain fish species carry lower microbial loads. Tuna, salmon, yellowtail. It's not safe in the absolute sense, but it's controlled risk." "Controlled," Halrickson echoed, incredulous. "You weigh microbial threat against flavor?" "Sometimes, yeah," Aaron said. "We call it culinary art. Some people like the texture of raw fish. It's cultural." "Your cultures flirt with infection for mouthfeel?" Aaron opened his mouth, closed it again, then sighed. "When you put it like that, it sounds worse than at Island." Shix raised her note slate. "Do you have pathogens that survive fire?" Aaron nodded grimly. "Yeah. Some bacteria form spores. Clostridium botulinum, for example. That's why we're careful with canned food. But it's rare." Halrickson was visibly trembling now. "And you eat mushrooms, fungi?" "Only certain types. We have entire fields of mycology to identify safe species. Some are deadly, some are delicious. Again, controlled risk." A Ferric student burst out. "Your entire food chain is a minefield. How have you not gone extinct?" Aaron rubbed the back of his neck. "Honestly, we probably should have, a dozen times, but we kept figuring stuff out. Fire, sanitation, germ theory, refrigeration was a huge one. And we're not immune to mistakes, mass poisonings still happen, but we learn from them." Halrickson turned to the third projector, which now displayed a series of human kitchen tools. Knives, blenders, thermometers. "I assumed," he said slowly, "that your species' dominance was due to technological superiority. But it seems your very survival hinges on your willingness to engage with biological danger on a daily basis." Aaron shrugged. "We just got used to not trusting anything until we tested it, cooked it, or filtered it." The class stared, silent. Finally, Halrickson turned to Aaron again, eyes wide. "You engineer immunity through exposure. You manage risks instead of avoiding them. You consume raw materials, apply heat, fermentation, freezing, acid, fire. You live in permanent negotiation with death." "Kind of," Aaron said. "That's life on Earth." "You live on a death world," a Yervaxi muttered, stunned. "Only if you're not paying attention," Aaron replied. Halrickson pointed a trembling frond at the screen. "Do you prefer raw meat?" Aaron hesitated. "No, most humans don't. It's niche, gourmet, sometimes cultural. A lot of people avoid it entirely. But you can survive it. If prepared properly. We're not trying to cheat death, we're just optimizing the odds." Halrickson slumped slightly. "I taught for 40 years, and not once did I imagine a species could tolerate this much biological hostility and still take flavor into account." Aaron smiled. "Taste isn't just luxury, it's guidance. We evolved to like what's good for us. Sweet means energy, umami means protein, sour warns of spoilage, bitter might mean poison. Flavor is evolutionary feedback." Shix quietly murmured, "Their tongues are threat assessment tools." Halrickson raised both arms high. "Class, I rescind all earlier classifications. Humans are not grazers. They are not simple omnivores. They are adaptive biosurvival tacticians with a culinary subsystem." Aaron blinked. "That's the most flattering way anyone's described a cookout." The professor turned back to the students. "We must reassess everything, our assumptions, our taxonomy, our understanding of food-based cultural signaling. What we once deemed barbarism may be innovation." Silence again. Then, Shix whispered, "What other dangers do they snack on?" Later that week, Aaron was invited formally to the campus medical department for a discussion on foodborne illness resilience. He arrived to find a sterile room, sealed viewing windows, and 2 xenomedical researchers waiting with grim expressions. They didn't want to ask him how he ate steak tartare. They wanted to know why he hadn't died from it. After a detailed conversation about enzymes, pH levels, refrigeration standards, and how his immune system handled the occasional microbial intrusion, one of the researchers quietly said, "We can't replicate this, not even with gene therapy. Your biology is trained. Yeah, Aaron said. By exposure. Generations of trial and error. We didn't evolve immunity. We earned it. Does it not frighten you? Aaron paused. It used to, but we stopped waiting for safety to come to us. We learned how to cook. The researcher exhaled slowly. You are a frighteningly hopeful species. Aaron smiled. Thanks. 2 weeks after the steak incident, the university issued an official curriculum update. The class once titled Xenobiology 204, Primitive Leaf-Based Species, was renamed to Cross-Species Digestive Adaptation, the Human Model. Professor Halrikson's name remained on the roster, though his title now included Special Lecturer in Risk-Based Nutritional Anthropology. Aaron hadn't asked for the spotlight. He'd hoped to quietly finish his semester, get his interspecies biology credits, and go home with some wild stories about universal translators and six-limbed roommates. But after the class that began with a single raw ribeye, his presence had become something else entirely. An alien benchmark. Not of dominance, but of adaptability. It wasn't just biology students anymore. He was fielding questions from sociology majors, engineering students, and even a few culinary researchers who demanded to know why humans put capsaicin, a literal pain compound, into food on purpose. It's not about pain, Aaron explained one afternoon, cornered by an enthusiastic three-eyed Mavex culinary theorist. It's about the endorphin release. It's complicated. Your people chase discomfort for pleasure? I mean, in moderation. Do you know what that means? Aaron glanced at the growing crowd forming behind him and sighed. Yeah, it means you're about to write another paper. Meanwhile, Halrikson had gone from humbled to obsessed. Not in a morbid sense, but the kind of obsession that gripped scientists when they realized an entire section of their understanding had been built on sand. Every day, the professor summoned Aaron for a new question, a new diagram, a new video clip of humans eating something utterly baffling. Fermented shark meat, roasted insects, cheese deliberately injected with mold. Do you cultivate decay? Halrikson asked one morning, sounding both awed and deeply distressed. And charge money for the privilege? Yeah, Aaron admitted. We call it aged, or artisanal. Depends on the marketing. Halrikson had to lie down for a full 10 minutes after that. But the deeper they dug, the more something changed, not just in the professor, but in the class itself. Where once students recoiled, now they leaned in. The revulsion had transformed into fascination. They no longer saw Aaron as a soft-bodied anomaly, a cheerful herbivore with a tea addiction. They saw him as a living survival algorithm in sneakers. That revelation came to a head during the final group project, a species-adapted theoretical colonization plan. Each team was tasked with selecting a hypothetical planet and determining which known species could survive there with minimal support. It was a staple assignment, normally straightforward. This year, none of the teams picked Yervoxy, none picked Glorans, none picked the Archoi, whose elegant biochemistry was shockingly fragile under pressure. Every team picked humans. The presentation hall was packed. Each group detailed different planetary scenarios: high radiation, sparse vegetation, water scarcity, heavy gravity. Every time, the same conclusion emerged. Given their thermal food processing methods, immune adaptability, and ability to metabolize diverse organic matter, humans could survive here with basic equipment. Human digestive systems allow for flexible nutrient extraction, especially when fire or fermentation is applied. Cultural innovation would likely compensate for environmental shortfalls. We predict settlement success in under 10 Earth years. By the fifth group, Halrikson had stopped blinking entirely. After the last slide faded and the hall fell into an awed hush, he stood slowly and faced the class. I confess, he said. When this semester began, I saw humans as an amusing biological footnote, a species of leaf chewers with curious social rituals and an overdeveloped affinity for hot water. Polite laughter fluttered through the room. I was wrong, so very, very wrong. He turned toward Aaron. You are not herbivores. You are not even mere omnivores. You are ecological opportunists, capable of surviving, adapting, even thriving in conditions that would sterilize half this galaxy. You are intentional, Your species does not wait for the environment to become safe. You engineer safety, with heat, with tools, with shared knowledge. Your survival is not passive, it is practiced. Aaron felt himself flush. He wasn't used to being addressed like a case study and a war hero at the same time. Halrickson continued, now speaking directly to the rest of the class. Let this be a lesson not just about humans, but about the danger of assumptions. We measured dentition and drew conclusions. We saw salad and declared herbivore. We never asked why they boiled water before drinking it, or why they build shelters even in temperate zones. We mistook caution for simplicity, preference for limitation. He lowered his voice. But a species that eats fermented dairy, survives microbial assault, and chases pain for flavor is not limited. No one said a word, until a student near the front raised a hand. Professor, if humans adapt to every threat, how do we know what not to show them? Aaron chuckled. Oh, we don't adapt to everything. We die all the time. That's the thing. But enough of us don't, and we learn from the ones who did. Halrickson tilted his head. You consider mortality part of the process? Aaron nodded. Yeah, that's where most of our wisdom comes from. Pain, failure, trial, error, all the stuff that didn't work. We build on the ashes. Another student whispered, That's metal. Aaron smirked. We even cook with metal. Halrickson nearly lost balance. Later that evening, Aaron returned to the now abandoned grill platform under the stars. He didn't bring steak this time. Just a few vegetables, some spices, and a metal skewer. He roasted them slowly, thoughtfully, enjoying the sizzle and pop as starches caramelized. He didn't notice Halrickson until the professor sat beside him. May I observe? Sure, Aaron said, turning a zucchini slice. They sat in silence for a while. Eventually, Halrickson spoke again. You've taught me more in one semester than I've learned in decades. Aaron shrugged. I just brought lunch. No, Halrickson said. You brought fire, and the willingness to use it. The stars above them shimmered against the dark sky, cold, distant, unreachable. But to Aaron, they didn't look so far. Tell me, Mr. Shepard, Halrickson said quietly, is there anything your kind won't try to eat? Aaron grinned. Yeah, soap. We've learned that lesson. They laughed. And across the campus, the smell of charred vegetables wafted on the breeze, comforting, alien, and a little bit terrifying. Just like the humans who made it.